I'd like to walk through the process of identifying logo images that are transparent or have a transparent background. Oftentimes these are used in different web designs such that a company or a person can display the logos of the people that they've worked with in the past. And sometimes if those logos appear on a transparent background, it makes it easier for those logos to then fit in with the design of a website. So let me give a couple examples. Very generic examples. So I've set up a couple images. I'm using Fireworks, which doesn't necessarily matter for this video, but I've created a series of images, one with a white background, because many websites do have a white background, and so when we use a logo that has an image with a white background, we don't always notice that it's not on a transparent background. Then I've used a very contrasting example where we have an image with a blue background, and then another common situation, a website where we have an off-white background. To the eye, depending on the screen that you're looking at it might even appear white, but it's not quite actually white. So we have a series of logo images from a number of different companies, and there's only one of these images that actually has a transparent background. It's this one, NatureBox. Now, as we look at this previewer, and I'm on a Mac here, this image previewer, it sort of shows that this image fits in with this previewer. You can kind of see through and around the text. Whereas as we look at the other images, that's not entirely possible. Okay, so we're going to import a couple of these images into these different backgrounds so that you can see the before and after and the contrast that the images do or do not make. So within this image editor, I'm going to go in and import. And I'm going to pull in, let's say we'll do this one with Hilton Garden Inn first. Put the picture in now. At first glance, that seems to fit within the background pretty well. Let's take a look at it with a background that's a lot more contrast. Now, this isn't a typical color for a website background, but I am using it for contrasting purposes. So come in and select it here as well. You can see that the logo sits on a white background on top of our blue background border. Now let's do one more. This is the off-white, and oftentimes this is kind of the area where we see the most contrast, or the colors clash a little bit more than what we might expect. So here we are. We don't really notice much of anything when the website has a white background and we have images that have white backgrounds. But we can see that there's definitely some difference there. Now let's pull in the example that we have with a logo that's on a transparent background. Now I believe it's NatureBox. So we're going to open this up. And this image is actually a page. The image doesn't completely fit in our example. That's okay. How it fits isn't so much the issue here in this particular case. We'll pull it in with our contrasting examples as well. Now, in this example, we can see that NatureBox isn't sitting on a white background. That's because the background around the text, around the logo, is transparent. So our background from our website would come through around the edges of that image. Okay, so how do we do something with these images? Now, I want to show you an example of a website. This is Jamloop. This is a past client of mine who I had a little help with doing parts of their website. They've since done some additional things to the site, and it's coming along great. But I want to point out that they have some images in here. Here's one of them. you'll notice that there is a background image around this graphic. And we can see the background image through the image. It kind of helps tie this into the site. We've got a couple other examples like that. Here's another graphic image. We can see there's a background image. There's two people in the background here that sort of float behind both the text as well as this image they've loaded in. That's because this image happens to be sitting on a transparent background, which is our goal. We want to do that with logos like NatureBox and some of the other logos here. So how do we identify whether or not a logo is using a transparent background image? So we have a number of files in here to consider. Most of these are JPG images. There are a couple that are PNG. This Pro Flowers logo is a PNG file, and NatureBox is a PNG file, and there's a Sports Authority. One of the Sports Authority images is also PNG. Now, a couple key things. If it's JPEG, it won't be able to sit on a transparent background image. There won't be a transparent background to it. Depending on how the image is designed, if this purple on this radio station's logo is part of their logo, then this box could sit in there and it could appear to be on a background image that's transparent, but it's really just a box at the end of the day. Not quite the same as NatureBox, where the different colors come through around the text. In this case, here's a Nivea PNG and a version where it sits on a white background. Let's pull up both of those within our little test example. We'll import a couple more. This is the PNG file. Now, you'll notice, even though this is a PNG file, it seems to have that white background around it. So here's the key thing. If it's a JPEG file, it can't have a transparent background. If it's a PNG file, if the image is a PNG file type, it could potentially have a transparent background, but that doesn't mean it will. Someone may have given it a colored background when they made that image. So just because it is a PNG file doesn't mean it's a PNG file that has a transparent background. And that's kind of where things get a little complicated, because the file type can help you figure out if you have the right types, but it won't always be, it's just a starting point. You then have to test the image and actually look at it to see what you have. There's the quick tutorial. If you'd like to know more about transparent images and web development, please let me know.